Megan, welcome to Unmask Fire Chats.
Thank you for
This is
having me.
where we're going to strip away the titles, the roles, the shoulds, and get into who we really are at the core, right? So we can align with our purpose. That's the point of Unmask. Because with our purpose, that's when we tap into fulfillment, joy, and true alignment. So today I'm sitting with the lovely Megan.
Thank you.
Megan is an artist, an educator, a stylist, and an all around light. But most importantly, we're talking about who she is to the core. So, Megan, did I forget anything professionally before we
No,
jump in?
not at all.
Okay. All right. So, let's start with tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you at the core before the titles, before the labels? Who is Megan?
I think I would say I'm an artist at heart. Um, Definitely somebody who looks to creativity as a means of just general expression in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like my life is kind of a testament to that. Everything I touch, I try to be as creative as possible, and as thoughtful as possible. So that's probably
Okay.
the simplest way to
All
describe it.
right. I love that. So when we remember when we did our deep dive a couple of months ago, we went over your human design, your specific BG5 graph at a local coffee shop. I remember you having a few aha moments in person, and then I remember you hitting me up after it, saying that you reflected on what we uncovered. What stood out the most from your design?
I think that one of the things that was maybe at the top of the list for me was how important community would be in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that we spoke about this during the session, but that I struggled a lot with sort of figuring out the balance for, right?
Mm-hmm.
The balance between how to care for my individual self and how to care for my individual self and how to balance being a part of community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like the session that we did really helped me to sort of hone in on and like clarify what it means to be somebody who's very self-sufficient, but also who has a desire to give and to be a part of a collective.
I love that. So you are one of my favorite people to talk to. I feel like we have those deep conversations. I come to get my hair done on a quarterly basis because we can go from the ghetto to the White House. We can go from relationships to
Right.
politics to history. Tell me about a moment when you realized when I was going over your design.
hmm
Oh wow, this is really me.
Hmm. The multifacetedness that you brought up, I think I'm into other forms of sort of self-reflection and sort of esoteric study. And so, yeah, you mentioned how I would have like many different changeable parts of my personality and ways of expressing my personality
Mm-hmm.
through the work that I do.
Yeah.
And so that was one part that I was like, okay, well, I'm on brand then. That feels accurate.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that
Okay.
observation for
Okay.
sure.
All right. Anything else that you kind of
And the
pulled out?
community part, honestly, that was the part
Mm-hmm.
that really, if I'm, you know, sort of reflecting more deeply, that really impacted me on like a emotional level, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because it's been something these past, in particular, 2 years that I feel like I've been really sort of struggling and still am sort of hashing out the nuances of what it means to, like I said, balance those things. And so, um, as much as sometimes, as much as sometimes I'm frustrated with uh, the complicated nature of being in community,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that it is an integral part of my personhood and that there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
just,
That's
sort
you.
of, yeah,
That's
correct,
who you are.
correct.
And it's crazy because I remember us having that conversation where you were trying to balance solitude and community.
Correct.
And when I read that, I go through three different systems that I study and certify in. The first is human design, which
hmm
you are very familiar with.
hmm
The second is BG5, that
hmm
goes through the 12 success codes, how you are naturally here to work and live.
hmm
And then the last is Gene Keys, where it really goes from your shadow, your challenges, to your gifts.
hmm hmm
And I remember seeing that in your Gene Keys that once you really learn how to put all of your passions
hmm
into, how can I say, bring all of your passions into one,
hmm
that's where you find like real joy, real
hmm
fulfillment. But I also read in your Gene Keys how, yes, you do need deep solitude. So finding that balance with community, that's one of your major strengths is
Mhm.
community and friendship.
Mhm.
And I see that when you have other clients in your shop. I see how you love to be in community, how you can really break down complex
Mhm. Mhm.
discussions and make them simple
Mhm.
for, in layman terms, for the
Mhm.
regular Blow Joe to understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that was another part of it that was really poignant for me is the um, portion around teaching, and that some level of information spreading or giving is going to be naturally sort of a part of every thing that I do in life. And so far, that is extremely accurate. Before I was a business owner and a hairstylist, I was a teacher. I worked in film for some time
Okay.
doing journalism work. And so it really sort of helped me kind of pull a thread
Mm.
between all of the things that I've already been connected to and kind of make me feel more grounded in the ways that I naturally sort of express myself. And I really enjoyed like the part where it was sort of talking about those challenges, right? Like, okay, so I have a tendency to maybe be in other people's business a little bit more than I would like. And that it's not always my job to insert myself, right? Like, and that is something that, um, when you know or can pick out information really quickly, it can be very difficult to pace yourself with how you share that information with other people. And so, like that being something that I have to consciously be like, Megan, just
Uh-huh.
because you see that,
Yeah.
that's none of your business. The people got to come to you now and ask for the feedback, right? So I got to, you know.
And I remember we shared that aha because we're both advisors
Mhm.
in BG5 terms
Mhm.
and projectors and human design, and how I remember we had that conversation where we both struggled because
Mhm.
I'm the same way. It's
Mhm.
like I know what's best for you.
Mhm.
I can chop up your problem and give you a solution in 5 seconds, but we have to be invited in.
Correct.
Nobody deserves our energy or our knowledge unless they ask for it, right?
Mhm.
So that's the hard part, like knowing when to insert ourselves
Yeah.
and knowing when to just fall back and wait for that invitation.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the most valuable time for most people is when they are already open
Mm-hmm.
to whatever information that they're being
That part.
that's being observed or that they're being given. So yeah, no, that's been something that I keep on my heart very daily.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. So one of the things that really stood out to me also in your Gene Keys profile is that your life's work, your purpose is all about enthusiasm.
Mm,
The moment you let someone or something dim your light,
mhm,
that's when you are just totally out of alignment, right?
mhm, mhm,
So you're a stylist, you're an artist, a teacher, you wear so many different hats.
mhm,
What I love about your design is that your real power comes, like I said, when you can blend all of your passions into one flow.
mhm,
And it's crazy when we had that conversation because you was like, man, I'm getting antsy. I succeeded with opening up my own shop. I did so many things that I had on my list to do.
mhm,
It's kind of like, what's next?
mhm, mhm.
So, do you feel like you're getting closer to that harmony, like bringing all of your passions, all of your skills into one flow?
Sort of. I feel like I'm still in a phase of learning. And lots of times, I mean, most humans don't like this, but lots of times the learning is comes through challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so feel like I'm sort of in a moment of having experienced some deep challenges over the last like 2 years or so, and some great successes
Mm-hmm.
as well. But I feel like I'm in a moment of like processing where I'm sort of trying to engage in that more solitude based thoughtfulness so that I can distill the information that I've been given over the last like 2 years or so. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yes, I feel like I am sort of working through it, but definitely don't necessarily feel like I'm completely out of the woods yet, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And it's crazy because when I was going over your design a little bit last night,
Hmm.
because I knew we was going to have this conversation,
Hmm.
your public role, how you show up to the world and express yourself,
Hmm.
is all about trial and error. It's
Hmm.
about making those mistakes because once you learn from those mistakes, your job is to share it to the masses. So it's crazy that you just said, like, I had some challenges. I love, like, how you always go through some type of self-reflection. And then when you go through that self-reflection, I mean, I don't know if your other clients experienced it, but I know when I come and sit in your chair,
Always.
you share those reflections.
Absolutely.
You share what you learn. You share what you went through. You're very transparent and vulnerable. And that's something else that I just really love about you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it, right? Like, it's a thing that, we've talked about it many times, but as often as I can, I try to express to the universe how grateful I am for the opportunity to be able to be in vulnerable connection with other people, right? Whether it's a person that I work with as a client or a friend or some random person that I see on the street. That I think that that's how we learn from one another, right? That we're able to connect through our trials and errors. Like, our successes are great, and everybody, is hopefully going to have, many of those throughout the course of their life. But most of the learning that we really do, the deep learning that we do, comes through challenges and, trials and tribulations. And if you're able, like you said, to sort of hone in on what is the lesson in the challenges, I think it allows for you to be able to, one, look at things through a silver lining, sort of, but then also teach someone else who maybe be coming up behind you or be your peer or somebody who's reflecting on their, past, to come to a better space and of understanding about, what we all here doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So your design also talks about not getting too attached to one way of doing things. No one method, no one lane, just being flexible and adaptable. That freedom is part of your gift. How do you balance that? The part of you that may want structure versus the part that needs that free flowing, just let me do me. I don't need no boss. I don't need no hierarchy. Like, how do you balance the structure versus the freedom and the flow?
So I've been an artist pretty much all my life. Like, before I was writing and talking, I was drawing and painting, right? So a thing that I've sort of learned through the practice of, like, physical art making, because my art practice has changed so many times throughout the years, and taking on different mediums. But what I learned really early was that for an artist to be able to be free flowing on the page or on the canvas, requires some level of routine and structure, even if it's a structure that doesn't necessarily have super strict parameters. But if you have a general loose understanding of how you're going to use your time and your materials, right?
Yes.
Like, so a thing that I always am tickled by, and I keep in my mind's eyes, thinking about this one salon that I worked at. One of the women who was the manager there, she had to go into my drawer. She wanted to borrow, like, some hairpins or something like that. So she went into the space where I kept all my tools, and she commented on how organized everything was. And I was explaining to her that I need organization so that the parts of my brain that require expansiveness and freedom can really unlock and flow. But if I have no structure whatsoever, it'll just be all over the place, and I won't even be in a space where I feel like I can create, because everything is so sort of jumbled up. So it's been trial and error through that, right? Finding out what specific systems and routines work best for me and my personality. But I think just having that sort of always as, like, a background idea. Okay, I need to have a loose structure for every day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to draw a sketch for 30 minutes. That's a loose, simple structure.
I love that.
So those types of things, I think, have helped me over the years.
And I love when you pull out, it's crazy when you pull out specific words and strengths from your design, because organization and details, that's one of your strengths.
Okay, right. Okay, right. Well,
that 1760T, I know I'm getting to,
well,
technical for the people.
I like the technical.
Right,
so,
right. But you like the details.
I do.
But that's one of your strengths.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we kind of connect too, because when my friends or whoever come over my house, they like, you so organized. Everything got to be put in its own little place. I got to take my shoes off at the front door. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. You got to do all of that.
Right, because it's 45 tabs open in my head all the time.
Listen.
So for me to take in all of the information that I enjoy taking in on a regular basis, I need to have the simple things on autopilot, right? Like, I need a system in place so that then I can just, be loose with all the other types of creativity and thoughtfulness. And so, no, I appreciate you saying
Yeah,
that.
I used to be the one with the sticky notes and Love me some good sticky notes. They all over my house. So I need, if I'm not organized, I feel like I'm out of alignment.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's
Correct.
one
Which
thing.
for your human design is probably also accurate, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So you got this beautiful, curious energy that really wants to explore everything. I love your storytelling. Again, another one of your strengths. You have that curious storytelling strength in your design.
Mm-hmm.
But your design teaches you how to focus that curiosity, not dim it, but to anchor it, right? Align it with who you are and what you are here to do. How has learning to focus your energy without losing that spark
Mm-hmm.
shape how you show up in your art, your business, or even relationships? We like to get,
Mm.
we
Gotta
go
have
there
a
with the
little bit of that.
relationships,
Gotta
a
have a
little
little
bit
bit
of
of that.
everything,
Right. Gotta give them a little razzle dazzle. Interesting. That's a really good question. Okay, so how has my
How has learning to focus your energy,
okay.
because focus, that's, you need, and you have incredible focus.
Yeah.
Like when I show you a style, and
Okay.
you're very detailed with making sure you give me as your client
Mm-hmm.
the picture, the style, the vision that I want. So how has learning to focus your energy without losing your spark
Right.
shape how you show up in your art, your business, or even your relationships?
That's it's interesting too because it's something that I feel like I've sort of been also struggling with
Mm.
over the last 2 years. That because I can be very detail oriented and almost like hyper practical in a way. I feel like I've lost a little bit of my relationship. I was just telling my partner this
Mm-hmm.
a couple of days ago that um there's a part of the creativity that I feel like has been sort of dulling over time as I hyper focus on, making sure that the bills are paid and that the
Mm-hmm.
products are in transit and that the schedule is tight and that the money is coming in the way it should be. So it's been a little bit of a challenge, honestly. And this I will say is probably the first time. I'm trying to think if I've had other experiences. I think this may be the first time in my life where I've experienced sort of that um intensity in the practical area more so than in the creative.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, before most of my life has been I allow the creativity and that spark to really drive whatever it is that I'm doing. Um but this is the first time. But it's also I'm at that age where practicality is very important, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my mid 30s. I can't just be as well. I mean, I guess I could. There would be certain ramifications of that that I don't know if
Right.
I would like, but yeah, I think I'm sort of struggling with it. I think historically though, I have just sort of allowed spirit, God, the universe to guide me, and whatever feels good and
Mm-hmm.
feels fulfilling, I allow that to guide whatever direction I'm supposed to be going in. And generally speaking, as long as I'm prepared on some level in terms of my skill set, right? So I'm a super duper researcher.
Mm-hmm.
So if I love something, like for instance, before I started doing hair professionally, I was obsessed with it, right? I could not stop looking different scientific things up about
Mm-hmm.
how hair was done, specific techniques on how to create a particular look, right? And it wasn't because I wanted it to be that way necessarily. It just
Right.
sort of was that way. But I didn't fight it, right? I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay, this is what I'm naturally when I'm naturally gravitating towards. Um, and so instead of fighting it, I just followed it, and the practical stuff usually follows
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. So yeah,
So, what do you think is the creative block? Because I remember when I first met you years ago,
mhm,
when you were working in the shop,
mhm,
um, we had that conversation where you was just like, I don't know, everything just works out. I follow my joy, my fulfillment,
mhm,
my creative vibes, and
mhm.
the practicality focus.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think that the way that I was doing it before was not as um tall, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. That
So
makes perfect sense.
I've been sort of creating a wide foundation of information and learning different things about how to, for instance, run my business or how to hone in on my craft. And I think what I've been trying to do is sort of scaffold that as time has gone on, in with community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a completely sort of different balancing act. Whereas before, when I was doing it, it was just me with myself,
Got it.
mostly focused on the sort of craft part of what I was doing, right? Now I've blended a lot more of the practicality of like managing a business, managing a space, figuring out like, the money stuff, taxes, all the different
Mm-hmm.
things. And so in recent time, I feel like the height of what I've been trying to do is this is the first time I've ever tried to do something as big as what I've done, right?
Okay.
And so yeah, I think it's just the learning curve of figuring out like, okay, so what tools do I need to build this at the height that I want it to go? And so it's just like, oh, figuring that out and learning how to work with
Mm-hmm.
other people to do it,
And
which is,
everything you said is in alignment
is
to
oh,
the trial and error.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the trial and error.
Okay.
What you just said is in alignment to how you're supposed to express yourself, how you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to get to the next level
Mm-hmm.
in your elevation, and just the evolution of, I say elevation, the evolution of
Both.
yourself,
If you
right? Yeah,
scaffold it.
sure. And with your business and
Yeah.
with your, professional endeavors.
Yeah.
So by you researching, by you reflecting,
Mm-hmm.
by you not being afraid to make mistakes, not being afraid to trash it,
Mm-hmm.
not being
Mm-hmm.
afraid to take risks.
Yeah.
That's a part of who you are. And that's what makes me happy when I do like a coaching session, and then
Mm-hmm.
I like in real time see that person
The
living
people
through
doing
that
it. Yeah,
design.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
love
we
it.
understand that.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. And it has been, like I said, so it's been a part of what has helped me in this last year not feel crazy,
Mhm.
essentially.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
and as much, esoteric studying, like self
Mhm.
reflection that I do, it's always wonderful to hear somebody outside of yourself reflect back to you what you know to be your truth.
Yes.
And even when you're in challenging moments, recognizing that um you're not on the wrong path just because things are difficult, right?
Exactly.
And that sometimes difficulty is just a part of the path, and that's okay.
Exactly. And I like to tell people it's not right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it just is. It's a part of your path. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just said, it's a part of your journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not being afraid to like really go through the messiness of our journey sometimes. So we
Mm-hmm.
can get to the other side. We gonna get to the other side, but
Mm-hmm.
we get hung up on, oh, I don't like the way it looks.
Yeah, things being perfect.
Yeah,
Right,
and it's
right.
not gonna be perfect. We gotta
Mm-mm.
go through some
It would be
shit.
boring if it was. And then
Exactly.
what would you learn? Also,
Exactly.
like, mm-hmm.
So last time, I think it was the last time or the time before I got my hair done, you said, which you mentioned a couple of minutes ago,
Mm-hmm.
you've been craving more a long time,
For
right?
sure.
Which makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
But as you also mentioned, the funny thing is your design actually thrives around people and community.
Mm-hmm.
Too much solitude can actually drain your energy instead of restoring it.
Yeah.
So, how do you find that balance between solitude and connection, knowing that as advisors, aka projectors,
Mm-hmm.
we had to really be intentional about where we spend our energy
Yeah.
because we have a limited energy resource.
Yeah.
How do you balance going into solitude
Mm-hmm.
but still being in community?
Yeah.
What does that look like for you?
I think I structure my life in a particular way. Being a salon owner and a hairstylist is really over the last, especially like 3 to 4 years, um, actually taught me a ton about what it means to be very disciplined about my time. Now I'm at a space where I met my entire year out, right?
Mm.
So a thing I've implemented for myself over the last 2 years for sure, but three loosely, is that I take a vacation meaning I take a weekend off every 5 to 6 weeks, right?
I love that.
Most hairstylists work on the weekends,
True.
from what I understand, right? Especially Saturdays are big days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because your average layperson is off on those days.
Not your average sleep
Average
person.
layperson, right? And so implementing that sort of routine for myself, I think, has taught me a ton about what it means to really rest. I can be somebody because I, excuse me, I can be somebody who, because I run at a fast pace, like I almost feel like sometimes my mind runs way more quickly than my body can.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm somebody that's like that, I can be prone to burnout. Especially if I'm super passionate about something, right? I will like over research, and if I'm like very excited about something, it'll wake me up out of my sleep. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I've had to learn to sort of pace myself over the years. And honestly, my clients have taught me a ton about what it means, because I have some women who are very brilliant, very thoughtful, very creative people, very driven people, but they do not play about their self care. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've been taking notes over the years, like, oh wow, okay, so you specifically for folks, let's say, I have a client that comes to me every 2 weeks. I can have somebody in mind who the people know, and she's deeply embedded in her community and her
Okay.
family. The people know not to call her
Mm-hmm.
during that time period
I
when she
love it.
comes to see me. That's her hair day, to the point where she said that some of her kids will remind her of her hair appointment. Like, let's say she's in the house like a little longer than
Uh-huh.
normal on that regular every other Sunday. They'll be like, "Mom, what are you doing here, girl? You're supposed to be getting your hair done.
Okay.
Why are you
I love how
at
she
home?"
trained everybody.
Correct. That's what I tell her all the time. You trained up the children, right? Right. So yeah, I think I've implemented some structures that have allowed me to be able to do that. And also, honestly, I really think in this past, in this past year, the universe has kind of forced me to be more with myself, more
Mm.
so than I really wanted to be.
Say more about that.
So, recently, a thing that I've talked about with my best girlfriend, uh, I really enjoy dancing and going out. I like
Okay.
nightlife. Baltimore has a beautiful, robust nightlife
Agree.
that is filled with so many creative, thoughtful, amazing people. Right. One of the I would call it an institution. It's a like a monthly queer dance party. The folks who have had started that party, that's been going now for, it'll be 10 years next year.
Hmm.
And that has been almost a space of ritual for me to go to every month. It's almost like a family reunion that folks
Love
get to come and sort of be free,
it.
listen to
Mm-hmm.
music, dance, move their bodies, be in communion with one another. That party is ending, right?
Oh
Yeah,
no.
I know, that's what I'm
Recently?
saying. Yeah, the last one was
Damn.
this past Saturday, right?
Damn.
So
Okay.
that's something that I've been like, I didn't quite uh gauge how integral that event was in terms of
Yeah.
my self-care on a monthly,
Wow.
whatever basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's something that's just like, I didn't make that happen, but
Right.
that's a space that now has to get filled, and I have to be creative about what does it look like for me to care for myself and get those similar things that I was getting, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe not in that sort of party
Right.
event setting, right? Um, yeah, so that's a sort of small
Yeah.
example, I think, of like ways that the universe has been like, I think, challenging me to be more thoughtful and more creative about how it is that I spend my time, so that I can get my needs met without necessarily being connected to others. So
That's interesting.
yeah,
But I like how you were in community though.
for sure.
So it's kind of like you're in community professionally. It sounds like you're in community personally. I want to say universe pushing you more into solitude a little
Yeah,
bit.
I
So that's
mean,
what you've been.
yeah, I was
Since that's
like,
what you've been
okay.
craving.
I'm like, all right, you really listening to everything I say?
Exactly. Like how you about more solitude.
Yeah,
Like let's
be
at this
careful what you wish
party.
for, is the concept.
That's what
But
the old people used to say.
yeah, be
Okay.
careful what you wish
I
for.
feel you.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it though. I'm honestly like, I think you can know that you need something, but not know how to give it to yourself.
That
And
part.
so I think that I'm super grateful for the opportunity to be in communion with spirit in a way where sometimes you have to kind of get things taken away from you, and not in a punishing sort of way, right? But in a way that's like, I know you maybe don't have the capacity to make this change for yourself. So I'm going to move some things around a little bit so that it kind
Mm-hmm.
of forces you to be, a
Perfectly
little
said.
bit more,
Right.
right. So
Perfectly said.
yeah.
So you and I, we're a part of the 30% that doesn't have that constant go, go, go energy. We don't have that hustle and bustle up in us based on our design. We need our naps. We need our snacks.
Mm-hmm.
We can't grind for 9, 10 hours a day like the builders,
Mm-hmm.
the generators, and
Mm-hmm.
Herman Design BG5 turns
Mm-hmm.
can. So that's 70% of the population.
Mm.
But imagine that 70%, it's a whole bunch of people that just hate what they do.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
builders and the generators, for them to have that go, go, go energy, for them to be healthy and in alignment, they must love what they do.
Yeah.
And I'm around so many builders where they hate their jobs, they hate their life, they hate their husband, their wife, they trying to get out.
Mhm.
I'm saying all of that to say, how do you navigate the 70% of the population
Right.
um, who are naturally going to be in that hustle and bustle grind while you're trying to just be in flow and preserve your energy? Like, how do you deal with?
I have such admiration, honestly, for folks who are wired that way, because
Mhm.
I'm absolutely not.
Mhm.
And was got very clear on that not, too long ago. I would say probably late 20s. I really took stock of the fact that I was like, oh, okay, I really need to prioritize sleep.
Mhm.
And also just like doing nothing, right? Maybe not even necessarily sleep, though it does manifest that way a lot. But just time with myself to be nerdy and go down a rabbit hole and, sleep for a little bit. But I definitely have such a great appreciation for people who have that energy. So I think I approach my relationships with folks. I'm surrounded by builders, right?
Exactly.
Um,
You and I both.
surrounded by builders. So I try my best to be compassionate with the way that I approach their energy levels. And try not to beat myself up because I
Mm.
don't move at that pace. So yeah, I think I just sort of um delegate sometimes. I hate to
Mhm.
say it like that. It's like,
No, I know what you
oh,
mean.
you got a lot of energy. Go
Yeah,
on,
right,
you wanna
right.
do this real quick? You wanna just go over here and, oh, you up? You up?
Listen.
Okay, great. Would
Exactly.
you
Can you
mind
do that? Can
doing
you
this
run to the
for?
store
Yeah, if
for
you
me?
don't mind. I was thinking about this all last night. So yeah, definitely a little bit of delegation
I
and
feel
and
you.
a lot of compassion for myself and for them. But again, because that sort of human design BG5 like uh framework helps you to not compare and contrast in a way that makes you feel like somebody should be more like you or you should be more like them, but that
Yes.
there's a reason why people are different, right? And that people's strengths are interdependent on one another, right? That
Mhm.
we can't just have a world full of people that are exactly the same. We need folks who have different talents and abilities and skill sets. But I do, I do watch them sort of struggle with hating being so productive and not getting to the goals that they maybe have because they're
Exactly, because they have so much energy,
yeah
they're not as
reflective
focused and
yeah
reflective as the 30%, the initiators, the evaluators,
mm-hmm.
and the projectors, advisors like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first learned my design, I was in that camp. You got to hustle, you got to bustle. I have a business degree. This is what I was trained in business school.
Mm-hmm.
That you got to go out there and make it happen. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I am tired as shit.
Yeah,
Like,
I am CP.
I don't have the energy to keep doing this, but I
Yeah.
was doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would always wonder, like, why I just don't have the energy to do things I love. I'm out
Yeah.
here chasing money. I used to be a collegiate referee,
Mm-hmm.
basketball, lacrosse. I'm
Mm-hmm.
ripping and running to different games. Just
Yeah.
always, I remember my ex-wife always saying, like, you're just never satisfied. Like
Mm.
you always starting another business. You always looking for something to do.
Yeah.
Like when are you ever gonna be satisfied?
Mm-hmm.
So when I went through my divorce and this is what actually pushed me into this work
Which
to
is everything happened how it's supposed to.
listen, to align with my purpose. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know who I was without that outside of that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I just felt so seen. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm not supposed to hustle and bustle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not supposed to be out here making shit happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to lead and guide the process,
Mm-hmm.
and that speaks to me as a project manager by
Mm-hmm.
trade.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like, yo, this is the first time things started to make sense. And as you said,
Mm-hmm.
not feel bad about myself because I can't keep up
Exactly.
or I can't compete with somebody that is wired to do that.
Yeah, that can work for 12 hours straight and
You
be
know what I
like,
mean?
this is fine. Like, oh no. They would find me in a broom closet, I'm sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, I definitely think that if we had more of that sort of discussion, and that's what I think is so brilliant about again these frameworks that similar to how folks use the Myers-Briggs, right?
Yes.
We talk about the gifts, talents, abilities, strengths and weaknesses that folks who come into the workplace and into different social environments have, and instead of trying to like critique them, we set folks up for success by putting them in position so that their strengths can really flourish, and add to the collective good
Yes, ma'am.
of how folks are
Mm-hmm.
engaged with one another. So yeah, I love to hear about like folks feeling like they're getting in alignment in that way, like feeling clear on who they are with no shame, right? With
Yes.
no embarrassment, with no feelings of, oh, I wish I could be different than this. Once I realized that I'm somebody who uh timeliness is just not one of my strengths. Strangely enough though, as a hairstylist and as a teacher, my internal clock works better, but it's because it's focused on purpose, right? I understand that
Mm.
in this tight period of time where I'm with this group of people or with this individual person, we're supposed to be getting really deep, really quickly, and then we part ways, right?
Right.
But an arbitrary me showing up to a job at 7 o'clock every single day, even though me being there from, I don't know, 7 to 7, I could probably get my work done in 3 hours, right?
That's me.
I'm not going to be able to show up at no job at 7 o'clock in the morning and be there for 12 hours and get my job. I'll be like, please free me from this place. Don't do this to me.
And that speaks to your split assimilation,
Hmm.
which means how you are designed to learn and take in information.
Hmm.
The split assimilation, you're not here to be with one person, one group. Split assimilation means you're going to be in and out of
Hmm.
different energies.
Hmm.
You're going to get the job done in 3 hours. You don't need to be managed and be somewhere for 8 hours. So,
I would combust. I would that kind of life.
and that's me too. I mean, I have a single independent assimilation where just give me the work, let me do my thing. Don't micromanage me, bother me. I'm gonna get the shit done when you need me to get it done. I don't need to be on no clock for no 8 to 5. I don't need no supervisor.
Yeah.
I don't need none of that.
Yeah. And if we lived in a world where people were allowed to express that is their natural disposition, and it's not because they're lazy or because they don't want work well in groups or because they're not, socially oriented, those people will be brilliant at something. There's something out here that requires them to move through the world in that particular way that they're already, and there's still growth in that, right? I think
Right.
that some people also believe that, like, if you're not pushing yourself to fit into a particular box, then that means that there's no growth. But I actually think that when you're leaning more into what your gifts and strengths are, there's still going to be challenges involved in that, right?
Exactly.
Leaning into that fully still requires you to do some level of, like, changing. But yeah, a lot of times I think that because people are trying to squish themselves into, puzzle pieces that don't quite fit,
Yep.
it actually does more damage to them individually, but then
Yes.
us as a collective society when we don't have people leaning into, their gifts, talents, and abilities. So,
And that's something that is a dream of mine to like encourage corporations, even parents, to like really parent these kids by who they are. Corporations, see your employees for who they are. Try to figure out their gifts and skills and stop trying to push them into, a cookie cutter box, like you said, or you got to work this set schedule. You got to come to the office. Some people get their work done not coming to the office.
yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this new era that we're marching into in 2027.
Yeah.
You already see the systems breaking down.
Yeah, I was about
You
to
already
say.
see government breaking down, right? So I don't know how many people are ready for this new era, but I'm excited a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know we had those
I'm
conversations.
very intrigued. I'm just here to take notes. I'm just here to observe and take notes. So,
So you got this Gemini energy that's all about duality,
we.
connection, and solitude. You can do the light, the dark, and the shadow. You're sociable, but you also know how to get low and focus on creating. How has learning to honor both sides of yourself help you figure out what truly makes you feel fulfilled and on purpose?
Um, I think leaning into the depths of uh my experiences has really sort of, maybe if I had to pinpoint something, that would probably be it. That I think a lot of folks are very, we live in a society that does not deal well with grief, right? That does not deal well with loss and change. And I think when you're somebody who kind of straddles that changeability line, there is not as much of a feeling of distress when, because for things to change, something has to end and another thing has to begin, right? And so I think people are really apprehensive about the endings part of things, but people still want things to change, right? Even when you look at, like, the way that our society is sort of going at the moment, right? People have desired for some time, right? For the systems in this particular country to shift and change and grow and expand and be more inclusive and be more humane.
Yes.
But that also means that there are portions of the systems that we have in place that have to crumble and end too,
Very
which
true.
is not always an easy thing, right? Those endings aren't just sweet and delicate.
Yeah.
They can hurt and be, really difficult to get through, and sort of challenge people to be a lot more resourceful than they maybe thought that they had to be, right? So I think I used to joke about this all the time, and I've changed my language around it a little bit, but that I've said before, like, being sad is sort of my like a safety spot for me,
Mm.
because I know that there is only up sort of from
Yes.
an ending, right? That the grief that you're feeling is just honoring that you valued where you once were on some level, even
Right.
though you know things may be changing. So yeah, I think getting clear on endings and getting comfortable with endings is probably the best way I know how to describe that sort of ability to be in transit and in
Mm-hmm.
flux on a regular basis. That um yeah, is just a part of life, and
That's
words like
crazy that you say
Octavia
that.
Butler.
Yeah, because in my previous relationship, she used to always say, because how can I say? I never liked her to be sad. I never wanted to talk about death, but she loved that type of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, intricacies. And I remember her saying, "You really ain't go through nothing. So until you really go through some shit, I haven't experienced death in my family. I haven't experienced,
Mm-hmm.
nothing like life changing in my life until my divorce, some
Mm.
years ago."
Okay.
So she was like, "Until you really go through something, I don't know how you're going to align with your purpose or find
Interesting.
fulfillment." So I always thought that was an interesting take. And by you saying that,
Mm-hmm.
getting comfortable with endings, I
Yeah.
never was comfortable with endings
Mm-hmm.
until that happened in
Yeah.
2021.
Well, I mean, it makes sense too because you got a little Venusian energy in your chart. So,
Exactly.
the
You know
Venusians
what
are like, that's not beautiful.
I
I need things to
mean?
feel good and look good and taste good and
Yes.
smell
I
good
need to be comfortable.
forever.
I need,
Like, forever.
so once I went through this training, I was like, oh, that's really not life.
Mm-mm,
She was low key
mm-mm,
right.
mm-mm,
Since then, I went through two deaths.
mm-hmm.
My favorite aunts, passed away 6 months apart. My last year, one in the
Okay.
beginning of this year. So I really had to learn how to deal with grief.
Mm-hmm.
Now I understand, or now I can have those conversations with other
Mm-hmm.
people where somebody be like, "My mother just died," and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that," but I never could like really feel
Yeah, like
the
deeply
pain.
empathize
Yeah,
with it. Yeah, for
exactly.
sure, for sure.
Now I can.
Yeah,
Now I can empathize with somebody that went
yeah,
through a divorce and don't know how to let go, or they don't know how to move on. They
yeah.
don't know who they are. That's some of my best work that I love to do, where I can help you. All right, girl.
If you're
Let's
stuck, I
You
can
feel
help you
stuck.
sort of move
Help you get
through the
unstuck.
stuckness. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I love doing that shit. I
yeah.
love like really breaking you down.
Yeah.
Let's go through the first 7 years of your life.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the
I
trauma.
hope you building the girls something fierce. You
Listen.
doing a little past trauma, childhood trauma work.
Listen. Right. I got like 5 different lanes I want to go. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so this is just the beginning. And I know it's esoteric what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do,
Mm.
but I just really appreciate you for always going there with me. Like
Absolutely,
getting into
absolutely.
getting into the mud with me and having those deep
Yeah,
conversations. I live for
yeah.
those deep one-on-one conversations.
Absolutely, same, same.
Um, so I know I'm gonna wrap this up.
Okay, cool.
So if someone's listening right now and they're realizing they've been living out of alignment,
Hmm.
dimming their light, masking who they really are, what would you tell them?
Hmm. What would I tell them if they've been dimming their light, living out
Masking
of
who they are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I would probably ask questions.
Okay.
The curse of my personhood.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask who they're in community with, right?
Okay.
Um, and what their vision are. Do they feel like they are living in a way that is uh reflective of the vision that they have for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and what blocks they feel like they maybe
Mm-hmm.
have, because I think that a lot of times people think that they are doing what they're supposed to do,
Yes.
right, and following a script that they've been given. And I certainly couldn't knock anybody for living that way, because I think we don't necessarily, in my opinion, live in a society that is very creative in terms of how it tells people that they're able to express themselves. And you see when
Mm-hmm.
people are living in their full truth of who
Yep.
they are,
Yep.
there's so much pushback socially for being yourself, right?
Right. Which is
Um,
crazy.
yeah, which too much like right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I would probably because I'm in a space where I'm trying to be more mindful about what advice I give to people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will probably do more inquiry, because most of the time folks have their own answers. They know the truth
Yeah.
of what it is in their heart and their minds, and they just need someone to be present and sit with them
Right.
long enough for them to figure it out,
Yes,
right?
totally agree.
So that might be, I don't know if that's a great
No,
answer.
no,
It's
no.
not
I
so much
totally
a
agree. No,
question. Yeah.
I know where you was going with that.
Yeah,
All right. So for the listeners,
for sure.
in a sentence or two,
Mhm.
how would you say the Unmasked brand, the Unmasked coaching has helped you since we had our session?
Okay.
In which ways?
Yeah, I would say it's helped me to get clear and concise about the journey and path that I want to take since we've had that
Mm-hmm.
conversation. How I want to approach my methods for how I want to manifest the life that I want for myself.
I love that.
That would probably be it.
All right. So thank you, Megan, for unmasking with me. I really
Thanks
enjoyed
for
this
having me.
conversation, and I look forward to getting back in your chair soon.
I look forward to having you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.